Okay, response to Q in his Deterministic 1 song, where he says, I don't have anything to say.
See, the thing with antinatalism, one of the reasons for it, one of the big reasons for it that nobody seems to want to talk about, is that an antinatalist doesn't have to take responsibility for anything.
Well, that's why we don't talk about that, because that's just a bunch of bullshit. What antinatalist has said that? You quote somebody. Shit, I'm a parent. I take full responsibility for whatever happens to my son.
For any harm, for anything that we do.
And you seem to want to don't put any of the blame on the procreators. You just want to give them a pass. It's not their fault. You want to put the blame on the victim.
And it's a contradiction with the antinatalist goal, which is to end suffering.
So that's all you do is you straw man. That's all you got is you make shit up, claim that we're saying it, and then you knock it down.
Now, sure, you may want to end suffering by ending life.
And we want to end suffering by stop bringing more people into the world that are going to suffer.
You may think that you're exercising free speech, which you're not.
What are we doing? Oh, you're going to answer that, right?
What you're doing is you're imposing. You want to impose extinction on the human race. That's an imposition.
Well, see, the procreators are the first imposers, right? There's nothing wrong with imposing on the imposer. That's why we have laws against murder and rape and such. It's okay to impose on the murderer and the rapist and the thief or whatever. It's okay to impose on them because they imposed first.
Now, since the current state of things, since the status quo is that human beings procreate, they're not imposing. That's the status quo.
Well, because it's a status quo, they're not imposing. Where's the logic in that?
They're not making the change. You want to make the change. You want to impose your will on the rest of the world, on the rest of humanity.
You want to impose on the imposer, yes. But right now, we just want to make an argument. Just convince people that it's wrong to procreate.
And what that is that's reverse eugenics. You base your belief system on the fact that you don't want to take responsibility for your health, for the situations in your life.
Well, see, this goes back to there's certain situations where you can't control it. It's out of your hands. That's why the first time I brought up my wife's health problems was in response to a video by Professor Anton called The Gift of Life. Now, what is this gift? I mean, your parents, let's say your parents come to you and say, we have a gift for you. Oh, what is it? Oh, my own DNA molecule. Wow. What's it made out of? Oh, half of your father's genes and half of your mother's genes. And in certain cases, I just say in every case, the proper response of the child would be, what? I got a DNA molecule based on you two fucktards? You shouldn't have, really. You shouldn't have. Because some people's health problems are because they got bad genes. You're not going to point any finger at the procreators. You're just going to point your finger at the person that got the bad gift.
Why you may lose your job, or why you may lose your house, or lose your car, or whatever you may do. You don't want to take responsibility for that, but you don't have any problem taking responsibility for every other human being.
I'm not taking responsibility for every other human being. I am here because two fucktards brought me into the world. If they hadn't, I wouldn't be having any problems. If you don't understand that, I don't know what to say.
In their choice to procreate. You don't have any problem with that. And that's bullshit. Now, anybody who's an anti-natalist, they would have to review this in their mind at some time. That would have to come up somewhere down the line. The issue of responsibility and accountability. Okay, now you want to hold procreators accountable for any harm, any suffering that may happen to their child or potential children.
Well, not their potential children, their children. Yes, if you bring a new child into the world, you, the procreator, are responsible. That should be an axiom. You bring a new being into the world, it was your choice to bring them in. Whatever harm happens to them is your responsibility.
And you're dealing with potentiality. You're not even dealing with real people. So when you make an argument saying, and somebody counters your argument, and then you bring up your wife and all her health problems.
I never did that. I made you brought that into the discussion. Those videos were for different videos, separate. I never brought it up in an argument. Well, actually, there's two times. One guy was making a mockery of suffering, so I had to bring up a real example of real suffering. I don't just bring it up during an argument, unless you're talking about a gift of life, or you're making a mockery of suffering. Then it was appropriate. It's a real example of how the world is unfair.
In you and your health problem. That's a cop-out.
No, it's a real world example. It's not a cop-out. You're the one who's trying to evade the fact that all suffering is due to people procreating. And if people didn't procreate, there'd be no more suffering. And in many cases, the suffering is caused by bad genetic material. That's just a fact.
What you're saying is that we should base the decisions of the entire human race on your bad genetics, on your wife's bad genetics, on whatever harm or suffering has happened in your life or happened in her life. You want to take a solipsistic view.
That's completely untrue. I've said many times, my personal circumstances are one small piece of a bigger puzzle. There's other people suffering. I've said that. It's not just about my circumstance. Mine is just one data point in a whole bunch of data points. And it's a real example of what can happen and does happen to other people. My situation could be worse for people that have it worse than me. Doesn't mean my situation isn't bad. The only reason I'm here is because somebody brought me into the world. I didn't get a preview. If I would have gotten a preview, I would have said, leave me the fuck alone. Just wipe me out. I don't want to have anything to do with that world.
And apply it to an objective reality. And that's a major inconsistency with anti-natalism. So anti-natalists do want to impose their will on the rest of the human race. They do want to stop all procreation, and they want nothing less but complete human extinction.
Well, that's the end result. The argument is that procreation is not ethical, so if we stop procreating, yeah, we're going to go extinct. We're going to go extinct anyhow. This planet is going to be lifeless. This whole game is ridiculous. We're born into a world of suffering, satisfying needs that don't need to exist in order to stay alive, and then we die. How does that make any sense?
And that is the only way to end suffering, human suffering, forever. Now, that can't be done by peaceful discussion. It can't be.
How do you know? It might be able to. I mean, you know, we had to go to war to end slavery. I'd rather we not go to war to end procreation, but I mean, it's 21st century. Of course, you still got delusional people. Most people believe there's an intelligent creator out there somewhere. So yeah, the task is difficult, but I don't think you can make the statement it can't be done.
They can't be done in legislation. It can only be done through acts of violence, through one cataclysmic global catastrophe.
Which might happen.
That would destroy any chance of humans procreating. But the very thing that antinatalists argue for, the very things they argue for, are the things they're arguing against. That's where the inconsistency is. You want free will, you want free speech. What do you want free speech? Free will is another issue. But you want free speech, yet you want to impose your will and your speech on other people.
Well, I'm not stopping you. You can speak all you want, and I'm going to speak back. You're the one that's not making sense. Yes, we want people to stop procreating. Therefore, we're making the argument. You can counter with whatever you want, but if it doesn't make sense, I'm going to continue to say that procreation is not ethical.
You want to take away that speech and will from potential...
Wait, now you said speech and will again. First you said free will was not a factor. Now you're saying you want to take away their will. No, you want to take away their... what they think is their right to impose life on another sentient being.
Beings that don't exist, but you still act like they exist.
No, we don't act like they exist. Jesus. The Benatar asymmetry says the non-existent cannot be harmed. We're not saying you can harm the non-existent. We're not talking about, we're asking you to leave the non-existent non-existent. Once you procreate, you've brought a new existent being. You made someone exist in a world that's just stupid. We're talking about the beings you create. That's what we're talking. We don't want you to create new existent beings.
Now, getting to reverse eugenics. Okay, so your wife's genetics are all screwed up. Your genetics are all screwed up. You've had a bad run at life. She's had a bad run at life.
So at least you admit that.
You have it because you feel that you have it worse than so many other people, and because you feel she has it worse than so many other people. You want to wipe out the chance of anybody who does a little bit better than her, or does a little bit better than her.
No, I want to stop people from creating more people like me and my wife, and people that have it worse off. That, I mean, if you could 100% guarantee that the person you're going to create will be happy every day of their life and not see the stupidity of the world, I guess I wouldn't care if you did that. But it's still an imposition one way or the other, because they might not appreciate it. That's the thing. They might not appreciate it. And you don't seem to care about that fact.
And, if you want to bring up sob stories, when we talk about stuff like that, it's like I know plenty of people who died of cancer that had better attitude.
So what? So somebody else has a better attitude than me, I should change my stance on procreation?
About it and shit that you don't. I know people who went in bad ways, and I know people who knew that it was coming for a long time, and they would never suggest the extinction of the entire human race because they had bad genetics, or they had something bad happen to them.
would they want to impose that on somebody else? Would they, I mean, should I look forward to getting cancer and being one of, you know, being one of these stoic people that will say they don't want they don't want extinction, so they want this to continue. So they want somebody else to get it. I mean, if you want the human race to continue, somebody else is going to get it. Somebody else is going to get cancer. Would your friends want somebody else to get cancer? Because that's what's going to happen if we keep procreating. People are going to keep getting cancer.
And to the contrary, usually the people who get the cancer, have the cancer, or other conditions like that, usually when they're struck with a disease like that, they do what they can. They immerse themselves in the culture that surrounds the sickness, meaning that they try to help others. They try to get together with groups and help others that have like problems. They don't sit around bitching about ending the human race. They get off their asses and they go out and they help.
So, because you have examples of people that want to continue procreating, I should want people to continue procreating. If the majority, obviously, well, actually it's not a majority that are procreating in sufficient numbers, but if most people said it was a good idea to keep procreating, that means I should accept that. Thanks for watching.